Hello, one and all. Welcome to Death by Podcast, your horror movie podcast, where we go through the alphabet, pick a vintage movie, horror movie, we talk about it. Welcome to the final episode of season 1. Crazy. I'm your host, Adam. That's your other host,
Evan.
Episode 33. We knocked out 33 episodes in a season, which started, I think we started in May. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was like March-ish. Kevin came to me, was like, I got this idea. Do you want to be dickheads on a podcast?
That's it.
And I was like, yeah, let's do that. Great idea, Kevin. No, sincerely, it's been awesome. And I mean, we did the whole alphabet. We did a few like special episodes, whatever, and it's crazy. So next week we start season 2.
Yep.
Awesome.
Back to A,
which is my letter. But this episode is our award show. I should put an applause in there. I'll try. Maybe you heard an applause if I could find one and put it in there. So we picked 13, I think maybe 14 categories with the effects one that I added, with a bunch of nominees and what do you call them? Honorable mentions. But we basically, how it's going to work is we'll go through each category. We've got a list of nominees, and I think Kevin and I'll each have who we think deserves it, and we'll talk about it, and
we'll determine the
winner of the
live
of the award. And what else? So yeah, it's going to be a big show. It's a big show. I'm excited. We'll be able to touch on almost every movie that we've watched, at least through the alphabet. I also wanted to mention another idea of Kevin's. We decided for season 2, we've got a new rule. It's the VHS rule, which means every movie that we pick from the alphabet, I'm sure we'll have, new movies and things like that pop up and specials and stuff like that. But as far as the alphabet goes, sticking to VHS, it's got to be available on VHS, which the last VHS movie was History of Violence.
Yep. 2005.
That's crazy. That's so weird. So anything from that point backwards, it was fair game. That's cool. I think that's a cool rule to have. But yeah, so we're going to do that. I'm sure we'll like make up other shit as we go along.
Yeah. There's going to be some new shit, some new rules, some other stuff next season. It'll be good.
Awesome. I think before we get into it, I want to give a shout out to Edward Freyna. I hope I'm saying your name right. Over on Instagram, Edward Draws Stuff. Fan of the show. He gave us a cool shout out today. And another thing we're going to start for next season, and we're actually going to start today, is listener questions. So we'll be drawing maybe like 2 questions from Patreon every week and 2 questions from Instagram, let's say, or maybe even Twitter. Maybe that'll give people an incentive to follow us on Twitter. And we will answer those on the show. And I want to say anything goes.
Yeah, anything, whatever.
That's appropriate. But
I mean, maybe if it's not appropriate, we won't read it.
Yeah. I mean, all right. So there you go. And what is appropriate? I don't know. The show is not really appropriate. So, if it's, I guess if it's horror movie related, it's probably even more appropriate. So, but whatever. If you want to know about Kevin, what kind of hair gel he uses, or something's going on with your hair, man. It's like,
I haven't put anything in it in a very long time.
It's really big.
Yeah. When I keep it short, I use, I forget what it's called. It comes like the hockey puck. It's like the, I forget what it's called. I don't know. It's whatever the lady tells me to buy.
All right. But they don't talk to them, see if they want to sponsor. We're not going to say their name. Anyway, Edward, thank you. Edward's got our first question, and we'll tackle that at the end of the show. We'll save that for later. And a couple other things later on, but we've got a lot to talk about. So we're going to get into this awards ceremony. And for some reason, the thing that popped in my head first is the big fight on Geonosis, I believe, in Attack of the Clones, where the Jedi and the droid fight, in the arena. Yeah. And every Joe always talks about how every Jedi, because they're all like they're none of them are there together fighting. They're all individually like superimposed into that scene. And it looks like they're all holding like Oscars, like presenting an Oscar instead of actually swinging a lightsaber. It's so fucking dumb. I hate it. I hate the way it looks, even though that's my favorite of the trilogy, the prequels
of the prequel trilogy.
Yeah, not the Don't mince my words.
Oh, I get it.
All right, man. It's awards time. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
This is big stuff. All right. Our first award is going to go to Best Hero. And the nominees are. Is this how we're going to do this?
Yeah,
I'm gonna read these.
Yeah,
okay. We can take turns because you got the same list, right?
Yeah, basically.
All right. So nominees for Best Hero. These we went through all our movies and that we talked about and pulled these guys out. We got Julian Dillon from The Blob. I'm sorry, Kevin Dillon from The Blob. Mike Tobacco from Killer Clowns from Outer Space. What's the dude's real name? Do you know?
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah. All right. One of them works. One of them works. Yeah. You get the point. What else? Tom Atkins from Night of the Creeps. Mo Rutherford from The Stuff, baby. Elvira from Mistress of the Dark. Excellent. And your boy James Woods, aka Jack Crow from Vampires. So those are our nominees. What do you want to do? You want to just go to who you picked or what?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I would say why don't we do that? Because that way, if we agree right off the bat,
yeah.
I mean, it's got to be.
And feel free to say whatever you want to say about the rest of them. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Kevin Dillon. I mean, I think it would probably go to him if not for Tom Atkins. I think Tom Atkins is clear. He's just so cool. He's the best. He's,
that surprises me, man. I mean,
but he's also, like I think I texted you earlier. Like, he's not really the protagonist, like the hero of. I mean, he winds up solving the problem, kind of.
I would definitely.
That happens a lot, by the way.
Where like somebody takes basically the
it happens almost. In like Killer Clowns. It happens in like where the sidekick or the backup character winds up saving the day.
How is that? Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about the cop in
Dave.
Clowns. Dave. Yeah, that's right.
I mean, he saves everyone's ass at the end.
Yeah, I mean, so Atkins is your pick?
I think Atkins is the clear winner.
That's absolutely my pick. But I'm surprised you didn't go with James Woods.
I like James Woods. Don't get me wrong. He's great.
I know you.
I mean, if I like James Woods, but I just like him in everything. I like him in Cat's Eye. I like him,
Yeah.
If he were in a better movie, then maybe.
Okay.
But
No, that makes sense. Because Atkins, I think, and I'm glad you went with Atkins. I was torn between Atkins. It was like a three-way thing. Atkins, Mo Rutherford, and Elvira. Elvira because she, it's like 100% her movie. Like it's almost like the entire movie is an extension of her. Yeah. And I think that's so cool for her to. She doesn't get enough credit for carrying the movie in that sense because everything else around her it works in that movie.
It works, but the movie doesn't work without it. It's a weird. It's specific to her. Like,
right.
If you pull James Woods out of the movie,
that's trash.
You have a mediocre movie.
I don't even. I mean,
where you pull Elvira out of that movie, you don't even have a movie.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I get what you're saying. James Woods in Vampires is the reason I watched that movie.
Yeah, he's the best part.
But Elvira in Mistress of the Dark is like, it's totally just an extension of her. And then Mo Rutherford, he's so cool and weird and like.
I forgot about him. Yeah,
I also understand your Kevin Dillon, but for me, Tawny, what's her name?
In
The Blob.
You think she's like
it's one of those things, almost like what you're saying about Atkins. It's like she really kicks some ass at the end. And I know she is almost.
Yeah, but Kevin Dillon saves everybody's ass with the
snowplow. Sure.
Snowplow. And he comes at, man, so
I guess
great.
sticking to Best Hero, not best lead. Best lead
Right.
might be a different thing. Tom Atkins absolutely saves the day. Kevin Dillon, you're right. So yeah, I get, and I don't want to leave Mike Tobacco out of the conversation, but we kind of talk about, we'll bring him
I mean,
up
Mike,
later as
he's
well.
Mike Tobacco. It's the weirdest performance
Yeah.
like ever, but
It was, yeah. And his voice, it's just like everything
Yeah.
about it. It's just so weird, but he was so cool at the con.
he was great.
All right. Tom Atkins gets best hero. I like that. And it's not just because I love him, but he really is like an everyman kind of hero in this movie. There's no
Yeah,
question.
for sure.
He's that hard-boiled hero guy. So that's cool.
He elevates the movie for sure.
Totally.
I mean, the movie would probably be good without him, but
yeah.
it brings up a notch for sure.
Right on. I'm surprised though. That's cool that you went with that. You want to do best villain? Go for it.
I have worst hero too.
All right, go for it.
Okay, so I have Tom Everett Scott in American Werewolf in Paris. I have Lestat from Queen of the Damned. I've got Mike Tobacco from Killer Clowns. I think he's. I couldn't decide if he's the best or the worst. I've got Anton. Did I say Anton from Idle Hands already?
No.
And I've got Fool from People Under the Stairs because I knew you couldn't stand that kid.
That movie, there wasn't much about that movie that I could stand. Out of that group, Lestat hits a lot of wins a lot of awards in my list. But to me, he's not I wouldn't put him in there as a hero at all.
I meant I guess main character. I mean, he's not the villain of the movie. Like,
no. And he
winds up saving the day.
I know, but it's just fuck that movie, everything about it. But
you don't even want to give it the worst awards.
No, I don't. I really don't. For me, the best fit for that is Fool. Because
really?
It's like, yeah, because it's like he's a kid, so he can't really be this super big Tom Atkins type, obviously, but he does blow the thing up at the end with the money and all that shit. He sets that like candle trap thing. It's weird, but he's just such an idiot, and he's a dumb kid, and his name is Fool.
I would say all of that is almost forgivable because he is a kid, whereas Tom Everett Scott, all that also applies to him.
Yeah,
and he's a full grown like man.
Yeah,
I think it's got to be, if it's not Lestat.
I'll give you. It's definitely not Lestat. I'll give you Tom Everett Scott. I'll do that. Because he's like an oaf.
He's just a dipshit, and he's
a total dipshit.
He's the worst. He chews on a condom and blows it up. Like, he's the worst. And Anton is somewhat endearing. From
I don't know, man. I've given
he grows on you a little bit.
I don't like that movie any more than when we watched it, but I think I hate it less maybe because of other movies we've watched since, and him being in Chucky. I don't want to say redeems that movie at all, but at least the actor, I hated that actor when we watched that movie. And now that I've seen him in something else and he's like kind of cool, I've relaxed how I feel. Seth Green still sucks, but whatever. So yeah, we'll go Tom Everett Scott gets worst hero.
Yeah, worst. Yeah.
Fair enough. All right, next category, best villain. This was a tough category that we narrowed down when we finally narrowed down the nominees. I took out creatures or monsters because to me, those guys, a villain makes a choice. You know what I'm saying? Like, to be a villain, to be a bad guy, the Blob, or there was something else that I was going to put in there. It was a creature. They are just that. That's what they are. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah.
So anyway, the nominees, and I think you know this dude's name, but Waxman from Waxworks, the actor, Sark.
Oh God. Oh my God. David Warner.
David Warner. I really loved him in that movie.
He was great. Great.
So Waxman and from Waxwork, Farmer Vincent from Motel Hell, great villain. Max from Lost Boys. Lost Boys was tough because you could have put Kiefer
Yeah.
Sutherland.
I went back and forth between Kiefer Sutherland and Max on who
But
to do.
Kiefer Sutherland is a villain because of Max, is how I looked at it. So,
Yep.
Max is the head vampire. So
yeah, he's the main guy. Yeah.
Jerry Dandridge, Fright Night, Chris Sarandon. Follow him on Instagram if you're not. He's hilarious. And then Kevin's buddy Bill Zane from Demon Knight. Bill Zane in the wig briefcase. So who was your pick?
That one was real tough.
It is.
I think I would be okay with just about any of them. I really go back and forth between Billy Zane, because Billy Zane, he's so good.
It's his best role by far.
Oh, by far. But I think my vote is Farmer Vincent, because he's so weird and so just such a fucking psycho. But I honestly liked everybody. I can go with Jerry.
Yeah.
Okay. It's
I agree with what you said. It would be too easy for me to put everything for Lost Boys, so that's kind of why I went away from Max.
Well, only the really reason I went, so that was the thing, is Max is the main villain.
Yeah.
But he's not the weakest part of the movie, but like he's the least interesting villain. You know what I mean? Like,
the reason I give him credit though for hiding in plain sight, because he's this nice
cool
guy throughout the whole movie. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, he's the head vampire.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I crossed him out. David Warner, I liked him. I thought he was a better villain as Sark, but Waxman is great. Farmer Vincent, great villain, but I think it was the movie itself that kind of like I want to enjoy the movie more. Bill Zane, I've enjoyed his performance for a long time. My winner was Jerry Dandridge for
I could go with that. I mean, because he's a prick, and he could walk. You know why? Because he could walk away
charismatic.
But he could walk away at any point.
Yeah.
Like he just doesn't, he doesn't have to be stalking these kids. He has nothing to lose.
Sure.
And
just how he manipulates, he sucks Brewster into this game almost from the beginning, but he does it so subtly. Everybody who kind of falls victim to Jerry's charisma almost is what gets them in the end. Is he doesn't really have to do much to lure them in, and it's because he's so good at being that character. And I love it, man. Fright Night is just such a fun movie, and it holds up, and it's got so many things I love about it. It really, even though like there's other movies that I enjoy that are mean more to me, man, Fright Night is like probably my number one Halloween movie, and it's mostly because of Sarandon's role, Peter Vincent. But yeah, so Jerry, that's our winner.
Yeah,
Jerry Dandridge, that works. Best villain, Jerry Dandridge. Let's see. Next one. What do you have for the next category? Dickhead.
But we can do.
Why don't you do? I want
Best
you to
Dickhead?
do Best Dickhead. It's a big list.
Best Dickhead.
Biggest Dickhead,
Yeah.
AKA. I changed this one to the Seth Green Award.
Yeah, I was gonna say. We originally the Seth Green Award was something else.
Yeah.
Biggest
Dickhead. All right. The nominees are. So the biggest dickhead, we've got Dreads from Jason X. Remember that kid? Fucking annoying as hell. Just annoying.
Yeah.
He finally gets killed. But Seth Green from Idle Hands, Anton from Idle Hands. You could have put the whole. You could even put Jessica Alba on there. Lestat from Queen of the Damned, Pasty or whatever the hell his name is from Urban Legend, the kid with the pop rocks from Dawson's Creek. Brad from Night of the Creeps. He's a total douche. Roach from Demon Knight. Kresner from Cats. Which one was he? Kresner.
Kresner's the guy who puts them out. Like he's from the middle segment. He makes the guy walk on the ledge.
Oh right. Okay. Yeah. And then also from Cat's Eye, Alan King. I had forgotten about that till you mentioned him. That guy was just greasy.
What a dickhead. Basically quit smoking or we're gonna rape your wife.
Yeah. But he was just so sinister, man. So sinister.
I mean, he electrocutes cats. Like he's a psychopath.
Jesus Christ. Fool from People Under the Stairs, and then Tom Everett Scott from from American.
Oh, I
Werewolf.
thought you would have nominated Slater from American Werewolf.
Nah, he was kind of like just
You could,
he was just an idiot. Like,
yeah, you could really nominate anybody from that movie.
yeah, but he wasn't like a true dickhead. He was just
you know who was a bigger dickhead than him was Julie Bowen, the mom from the girlfriend that gets eaten, you know, and in the cemetery.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
She was something else, man. She was pretty
she
bad.
was a dickhead. But there's somebody on this list that out dickheads all the dickheads. So who is your big dick?
I guess Alan. I mean, I don't know. I guess Alan King.
Wow. Okay. To me, it's more obvious than that.
Is it Brad?
No. No. I mean,
or even Roach from Demon Knight. Like
he's a dickhead. Definitely.
He actively screws over everybody. He
Yeah.
hooks his nipples up to like a car battery. That's
final answer.
Final answer. Oh, it's Lestat.
Yeah, it is.
It's Lestat.
Totally, man. I mean, I hate him. I would never want to watch that movie again because of him, because of the actor, everything about
There's
it.
a lot wrong with that movie, but he doesn't help.
And just from the second he's introduced, when he sings that note, he just appears at band practice lying on the amp, and he like oversins. He sings over the lead singer of the band, and just like, dude, fuck off. Jesus Christ. Dickhead. But yeah, there was a lot, dude. I mean, it was hard not to give it to Seth Green, but I figure I had given it to him the whole season.
Yeah. And we named the award after him.
I know. So that works.
But Lestat's even worse than Seth Green for sure.
Yeah.
He's way worse.
Yeah. Next one I got is you said ensemble.
Demon Knight.
Yep.
Fright Night. Lost Boys. Transylvania 65000. Waxwork. The Blob, and You're Next.
I was surprised initially you had left off You're Next.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that, but they really do. The cast is really good. They do all.
That's the most true out of the list ensemble, I think.
Yeah, and they all do. They all feel like they all know each other, and it's a good, Yeah.
It's not who I picked, but who'd you pick?
I picked The Lost Boys.
Me too.
Yeah, it's a great cast, man. Everybody's super well cast in that movie. I mean, Diane Wiest.
Oh man.
Everybody.
And everybody works so well together. Like it's such a cohesive. Nobody's like on the fringe or doesn't fit.
No, everybody, even Sexy Sax Man is,
Yeah, the side players, they all just fit into that universe. But when you look at like everybody who's involved in the main plot, there's
no fat on the cat. Well, I mean, really. I mean, you could argue you don't need all four of the vampires, I guess, but I mean, even all four of them kind of bring something to it,
Absolutely. It was tough though. I mean, Transylvania 65000 is a great ensemble cast, like just all the different weirdos and characters that you have.
It's not bad. It's so weird, that movie.
And
it is a good pick for best ensemble because they do, work off each other and everything.
Yeah, it was created for these these characters to like mesh to be a part of that universe. Your Next is they're actually probably the most, like if that movie had been nominated for, I think Golden Globes does ensemble or something like that, like that would be a legit nomination in something like that, I think.
Yeah, because there does wind up being, a star of the movie, but you don't really know who that is, until halfway through the movie, like they all kind of shine in different,
Demon Knight works the same way maybe it's because they're all like contained in this one, like Demon Knight, they're all in this one hotel. And so they've got to work off of each other and with each other.
That's another real good one.
Yeah. But yeah, Lost Boys is just, you can't beat that. It still holds up. The cast still holds up. The performances, everything. So cool. Yeah, great pick. Next one I've got is the most bonkers concept of a movie that we watched. And there were a lot of them. Zombie High, I put that in there because there's no zombies, so it's pretty crazy to call it that. It's just like, what are you doing? What movie are you making? Extra, The Stuff, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, Jason X, because we grew up with Jason in the woods, and all of a sudden he goes into space.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I had that written down
fuck?
too. Like, yeah, Jason X is. I mean, just I'd imagine this category as like the pitch meeting for each one. Totally. Which one sounds the craziest?
Totally.
Like we're gonna put Jason in space. That's
Yeah. Motel Hell, House 2, and Cat's Eye. So who'd you pick?
Well, I picked Killer Clowns, but I wouldn't argue with Motel Hell.
Interesting.
They're both pretty fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And like I think Killer Clowns now, it doesn't seem that crazy because the movie's been around a long time, and
it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean that's the tagline from the movie. It's crazy. But they, at the time, like I remember just seeing that box and being like, what what a crazy idea for a movie. Motel Hell, though, I mean, imagine pitching that. Like, here's the deal. There's this farmer that traps people and it sets up booby traps and buries him in his like field, and I mean, plants him neck deep in the ground. Like, I'm good with either one of those.
Yeah, I went with Killer Clowns, just because like, ever since probably Poltergeist, clowns have just not just rubbed me the wrong way. But this was a movie that I intentionally avoided my whole life until, I had seen clips and pieces until this podcast. And I was like, all right, you picked Killer Clowns. And I was like, son of a bitch. So I watched it. And the more time that goes by, I still feel the way I feel about clowns and these fucking guys chasing me through the woods with those fucking clown shoes, man. And but the more time that goes by, the more I think fondly of this movie. There's so many weird concepts.
There's so much to appreciate about it, and the movie works. You know what I mean? Like it really does.
They took the whole circus idea and just incorporated every aspect. The crazy straws, drinking people juice out of crazy straws, out of crazy straw. It's just the whole movie is bonkers.
The popcorn guns, the balloon animals, the shadow puppet. Like they
utilized every aspect that they could out of what a clown does or is a part of. Yeah.
The execution, that's the thing. Motel Hell, it might be a crazier concept, but the execution is better in Killer Clowns.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I'm glad I watched it.
Good. I'm glad you did too. I'm telling you.
And Motel Hell, I enjoyed that too. And there's a lot of just fucking weird shit in that. But in a couple of these other ones, like Extra, man, like that's talk about pitches. Like I get it, like it's a pod person alien invasion something movie, but it's the details of that movie that I'm like, who was okay with this stuff? Like it's just so weird. I'm curious why you put, what was it about House 2 and Cat's Eye that you were like, this is crazy?
Well, Cat's Eye is kind of rough because to me it was just the first part of Cat's Eye,
right?
Like the whole the idea for the story is like, hey, this guy really wants to quit smoking. He finds this organization that basically says we're gonna hunt you down and kill you if you don't quit smoking. And he's paying him to do that. Like that's a pretty wild, idea. And then House 2. I mean, House 2 is one of those ones where if someone said, "What's it about?" you'd be like, I mean, maybe you should just watch it. It's like, what do you even say to that?
It's weird because you could, I guess somebody I've talked with people who saw the first movie because the first movie was one of those low budget staples of the 80s. House, when it came out, it was like, oh, this is a relatively big deal within that genre. And House 2 was like, oh, they made a sequel. loving the first one as much as I did. I was like, yeah, I saw that as soon as I could. Yeah, Cat's Eye I had to leave out because of the anthology effect.
Yeah, I agree. I think it disqualifies it.
Because the third act is with the elf.
Yeah,
right?
the troll.
I mean, it's just such a good standalone movie. You can't beat Killer Clowns. I mean, it's just bonkers. Next one I got is favorite quote, best quote. Is that what you got?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So we got. You want to read these out?
Well, I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some of them. If you have,
you could read them out.
Okay. The first one is shut the fuck up from your boy James Woods and Vampires.
James Woods in Vampires.
Second one
yelling
is
at a priest.
Yeah. I mean, it's great. It's Kevin Signoff for a reason. Next one is Lost Boys, Corey Haim, when mom's making dinner for Max, having Max over for spaghetti, and he's like, Sam is like, oh, I invited some friends, and the Frog Brothers are there, and she's like, oh, I wasn't expecting extra people here, and Sam's like, it's okay, Mom, we can just eat some peanut butter out of the jar in the kitchen. And ever since I heard that, it's just such a weird and like random thing to say. It's like, okay, Mom, we'll just have leftovers. But no, it's so specific, and it's just stuck with me ever since I heard it. So I had to put that in there. Tom Atkins, Night of the Creeps. Ladies, I got good news and bad. What's the good news? Your dates are here.
What's the good news?
What's the good news? Your dates are here. What's the bad news? They're dead. And it's like, when I first saw it's his delivery. I could never do that.
It is his delivery because it's such a clunky. It's like you can't. It's hard to quote because it requires a back and forth.
Yeah, it does.
You know, like it's not even. You know, it is. It's all his delivery.
But it's his delivery, and it's the way it's shot. How the camera is on his face, and he's got like a cigar.
He's got a cigar in his mouth. Yeah,
and just how he turns. He's so like, it's that hard boiled again detective, and it's just so good. And then the next one is from Atkins again, Night of the Creeps. It's Miller time, which he doesn't really say it like that. It's Miller time. I always say it in my head like Bill Murray says it in Ghostbusters, but he says it when he says it. It's pretty badass.
You know what? We forgot isn't on the list. I mean, how many times can Tom Atkins? But Thrill Me.
Yeah, it's great. Out of the three though, one of them definitely stands out more than the other. The next one is, I don't know the exact quote, but Virginia Madsen, and just because it's so asinine, but Virginia Madsen in Zombie High, when Julian Woods is telling her the plot of like how he's embedded this crystal to control people's brains, and in this movie that has zombie in the title, no one in this movie ever says the word zombie, but she manages to say, oh,
she's like vampires.
That's just like vampires. And I was like, what?
And it's not like vampires.
It's not anything like vampires. It's like, if anything, it's like zombies. And I don't know who, I want to know who decided to write that. It's insane. Next one is Ving Rhames in People Under the Stairs.
Did you know this exact quote?
I think so. I looked it up, and he's talking to, I think he's talking to Fool, which makes it even weirder because he's talking to a little 10-year-old kid, and they're talking about like something happening that's good. And Ving Rhames says, yeah, and maybe the president will make me Secretary of Pussy.
Yeah.
It's like, what? What's the shit one again? The next one?
Shit was in Waxwork. It's the like private detective.
Oh, right.
And once he sees a mummy, they go, and it's great because the line before it goes, look, it's the mummy. And he goes, shit. He just says it so like he just found out mummies existed 5 seconds ago.
Right.
This guy goes, look, it's the mummy. And he goes, shit. Like the way his delivery is great.
And then you want to take the next one too? The Killer.
Oh, the last one is from Mooney. Yeah. When he's getting when he's being a puppet for the clowns, and he says, relax, Dave. All we want to do is kill you. It's
a great scene.
It's a great creepy scene.
It's terrifying. So it's tough, man. There's some good quotes in there.
Yeah, I mean Mooney's full of. You could have the best Mooney quote too.
Really?
You know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I guess there's other ones in there too. But it's like,
But I think
it came
you
down to
gotta-
two. It came down to two for me.
I like James Woods, but I mean the quote isn't good. It's his delivery that's good. So I would give it to Tommy Atkins again with
Dates.
yeah, with the dates, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
me too.
It's the best. It's the best line in the
And it came down to both those for me as well. Shut the fuck up and your dates are here. It's just, it's the quote, like you could say that, you could apply that in a lot of situations, or I would want to apply that in a lot of situations. Like I wish that I could be a dad just for that, just to like say that quote at some point.
Yeah, but it wouldn't make any sense if
I don't care. I'd say it. I'd just look out the window with like a candy cigarette or I don't know what. But yeah, it's just, and then with James Woods too, it's their deliveries. James Woods in that quote, his intonation on the syllables that he chose to put it on is perfect. Like,
yeah,
listen to it at the end of our show today. Listen to it, listeners, and you'll see what I'm saying. Like, it's just, if he had put the stress on different syllables, it wouldn't be the same quote, you know?
you might be, and as much as I love James Woods, you might be giving him too much credit. I think telling people to shut the fuck up comes pretty natural to James Woods.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
But all the more reason though, because I feel like he mixed it up this time, you know? Like, it's like, it wasn't just like, shut the fuck up. It's like, shut the fuck
it's
up.
the best. And it's like, it's like slamming a door.
Yeah.
Like, it's like,
It really
whoa, Jesus, dude.
It is. But again, you can't beat Atkins and his delivery and the shot and the scene that it's in. Cool. All right. Best sidekick.
Yeah.
Right.
Big list, man. Big list. Yeah.
Some good stuff. What do you got?
Well, and the list was so big, we had to go. We have worse sidekick too, you know, like because it was just. I didn't realize how many sidekicks there were in these movies.
All right, let me do. I'll do best. You do worst.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
All right. So best sidekick, we got Evil Ed, Fright Night, Terry from The Gate. I forget his character, but Norm from House.
From House One.
From House One. Tanner from House Two, which was Cliff Clavin. Ed Begley Jr. Transylvania 65000. Peter Vincent, Roddy McDowell from Fright Night, and the Frog Brothers from Lost Boys. That's a tough list, man.
It is tough, man, and
real tough.
This one I went back and forth on a lot because I was like, oh well, it's probably, and then I kept remembering, like I think I'd have to give it to. It's hard for me. It's really hard between Bill Tanner, electrician / adventurer. Because he comes in and like he's awesome. He's fucking awesome for every second he's in the movie. He's not in it that much. I don't feel like he's real. I mean, I guess he finds that like portal.
In the wall.
The rest of the movie has to happen.
Yeah.
But maybe it is him. I do love Peter Vincent, man. Peter Vincent is probably the right call.
Yeah, I agree.
And the other thing is that Bill Tanner isn't really a sidekick.
Exactly.
Like,
I think he's more of a guest.
Yeah, I don't know what he is, man. It's like he's in another movie and then comes over to House 2 for a few minutes and then leaves.
Next door, yeah.
Yeah.
In House 2, the sidekick is Billy from Fright Night, whatever that guy's name is. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Tanner's great. I agree with everything you said, but I think he's more of like a best guest appearance.
Yeah, I feel like there should be a separate category for guys like him.
Sure. Whereas the reason I put like Norm is because he really is kind of a sidekick. Like he's there through the whole movie.
He
helps him out through stuff.
He's what the category is about.
Yeah, totally.
You know.
But I agree. You know, it's tough. It's like Evil Ed, awesome.
Yeah, except Evil Ed.
Also a villain.
As much as he's great, he winds up fucking everybody over.
Sure, totally. Once he turns, the Frog Brothers are like the ultimate sidekicks, you know. But Roddy McDowell in that movie, dude, he kills it. I had him initially in best hero as winning that, but then after I thought about it, he wasn't the leading man. Tommy Atkins definitely was, or could be at least. But yeah, if this was the best sidekick, best supporting actor, whatever, Peter Vincent all the way. He's so good in this movie.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So yeah,
I think Peter Vincent's got to take it.
And then also I don't want to leave Ed Begley Jr. out just because he's fucking hilarious in 65000.
Yeah, I mean he couldn't. I mean, this is
and he's
murderer's
ultimate,
row, man.
yeah, and he's an ultimate sidekick to Jeff Goldblum. It's just like the two of them together are hilarious. But Peter Vincent deserves it. You got the worst sidekicks. What do you got?
Yeah, I got Seth Green in Idle Hands.
Dickhead.
We got the Mighty Ducks girl in Queen of the Damned.
No, she's a dickhead.
Yeah,
I forgot about her. I'm glad you brought her up.
You got Ving Rhames in People Under the Stairs.
Oh my god.
You got Ida from Motel Hell.
See, now that's a great, yeah, shit.
And then you got the dickhead friends in American Werewolf.
Yeah.
The worst, like, that's the thing. Like, Ida, I didn't know if to put her in best or worst because she's the bad guy. You know what I mean?
Right.
She's a villain. You know, she's not good. But in that movie, the villains are the main characters of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
I like Ida. Ving Rhames is a pretty bad sidekick. I mean, he literally gets his, the protagonist into the situation and like just gives him bad advice the whole movie. And then until he's killed.
Yeah. Even like almost the scene with the dog where Ving Rhames hides behind the couch the whole time and the fool has to like get him out of the situation. It's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you're the adult here. But I got to go with Ida all the way on this.
Yeah, I'll go with Ida for sure.
She is a sidekick to Vincent. She does a great job at her role to him, but at the same time, because of her sort of jealousy and her like she has to go get a snack towards the end, that kind of had she not, the zombie people wouldn't have gotten her and wouldn't have, like, there was a chance that Vincent could have gotten away had she not needed to go get a snack. So I got to give it to her on this.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I mean, that's the other thing is like how do you calculate worst sidekick? Because like the worst one to watch was Mighty Ducks girl, because it was just like, fuck on, man. Yeah. Like, why are you doing any of this? But yeah, I'll go with Ida. I like Ida, she's my favorite. I mean, she's my favorite to watch out of all these.
Upside down Ida. Mighty Ducks, yeah, she was definitely a sidekick too, but goddamn, I just hate her. Like, I at least I enjoyed Motel Hell, Grossest moment, is that what we got next? Another weird list. Chocolate Charlie's death in The Stuff.
Yeah, I forgot about that one.
So he he's infected. We don't know it until like right at the moment. And he dude, just the way his mouth opens and it's all like,
he pulls
a up mouth inside,
a Raiders of the Lost Ark kind of deal, or his head just turns inside out. It's pretty wild.
And it's those like really good / really cheap effects, practical effects. The Stuff had a lot like that. Chocolate Charlie's death. Paul from the Blob, pretty gruesome.
Yeah, pretty raw.
There's a few in there though in that movie that could be in here. Like, I always think about the kid in the sewer.
Oh,
terrifying.
Yeah.
Mark Boone Jr. in Vampires gets ripped right in half, right?
Yeah, gets sliced right in half.
So he gets sliced in half. So he uses his fingernails. He's just like, whoosh.
Yeah, he uses fingernails and gets them, and it's cool because he doesn't slice them in half down the middle. He cuts them like diagonally from the neck to like the belt, and then just hits and just separates. Right. Yeah, very cool death in that movie.
Yeah. The food picnic orgy in
the food orgy
in Elvira.
That was pretty gross.
There's nothing like bloody about it. It's just watching these old people be
like talk dirty and
it's
like dry hump. It's
and like shaking hot dogs at each other, and man, it's just gross. The dad sucking on his son's shoulder.
Oh,
in Extra.
Yeah,
dude. And then also in Extra, when the French babysitter gets pod person to the wall in the bathroom and starts laying eggs, dude. Ugh, I just almost threw up just thinking about it. Bill Sadler, your buddy Bill Sadler's death in Demon Knight. So refresh me on how he dies. I just remember him afterwards sitting there and she collects his blood.
Yeah. So Danny, the like
14-year-old,
right.
Yeah,
his whole mouth like opens and like his tongue just like hollows out his inside. It's pretty nuts.
He transforms and goes bonkers.
Yeah. And then
All
they kick him out a window and he explodes. But
the kid,
the kid explodes. I gotta go. I mean, probably the food orgy. Or Chocolate Charlie. I mean, like the food orgy for me was just like, Jesus Christ, what is this?
I went for more literal, and how much the dad sucking on his son bothered me.
Yeah.
But that's what I had picked. But I'll go with you on the food orgy with Elvira.
It is
just on pure, just the premise and like principle of the thing. It's so bogus and effective, obviously.
And like weirdly, like it's pretty unethical too. Like, doesn't Elvira essentially like roofie everybody? Like,
with her porridge that she like, disgusting ass porridge.
It makes everybody like crazy horny at this picnic. I
love that movie. Yeah, so Elvira wins. Let's see, best death, is that next?
Yeah, best death is next.
You got the list?
Yeah.
What you got?
We got Paul from The Blob. We got Billy from Fright Night. We got Frozen Face from Extra.
Jason X.
Oh, Jason X. I'm sorry. Yeah. I thought about that one too. Yeah, the freeze, the cryogenic freeze.
Cryogenic thing. Yeah.
Where he smashes her head on.
It was just a great scene.
It's the best death in the movie. I mean, the sleeping bag, technically, which is the next one.
Right.
Technically, I don't think counts because it's not a death. It's a simulation.
Yeah, it's a hologram, but I had to put it in there anyway. Both of those are the only. I wouldn't say that, but that movie is pretty bad. So
yeah. You got RoboCop in The Blob, which is when I thought about this category, it was the death that popped in my head.
Yeah,
it gets bent in half backwards and sucked through a thing.
So bad.
You got Evil Ed.
Yeah, I forgot about that one too. You mentioned it. It's so good.
It's pretty
rough. There's so many facets to it because that whole scene is like,
it goes on forever.
Yeah, it's great effects.
But that's the other thing is like that stinger at the end of the movie.
Yeah, it's true.
Is he dead?
Yep.
Does it count? Does it?
I forget. He's not in the second one, right?
I've never seen the second one, but I don't believe he is.
I don't think he is. I like to think, no, he's not. I like to think his character went, because the next year I'm pretty sure is when he made 976 Evil.
Yeah.
Which I've never seen. I need to see that. Sorry, continue. Dick Miller.
Dick Miller in Demon Knight. I mean, if it's a crazy, he gets tricked into seeing like just being among like 50 topless women, and then he gets decapitated, and his body fights a bunch of people, and until a 10-year-old takes his head and spikes it onto some deer antlers so that the deer antlers go into his eyeballs.
Right.
Like it's a pretty
cool. In like elaborate.
Yeah. Pretty nuts.
For those who don't know Dick Miller, it's Mr. Futterman from Gremlins. And did you see, I think I sent you a bunch of screen caps from Chopping Mall.
Yeah, I love Chopping Mall.
Okay, you've seen Chopping. Okay.
Oh yeah, I've seen.
That's a great scene. His death scene. He's only in it for a little bit, but
yeah, he's great. Plays a janitor.
Yeah,
gets killed by a robot. You got Mooney from Killer Clowns.
Great scene.
Yeah, where the Killer Clowns use him as a puppet, like a literal puppet.
Yeah, that sound effect as he pulls his hand. The clown pulls his hand back out of his ass, and it's just like,
yeah, pretty raw. And then you got the sheriff from Demon Knight, where Billy Zane punches through his head and gets his head stuck on his arm.
Yeah,
he has to like
he like throws it at someone, doesn't he? That's how he gets it off.
Yeah, and then you got Tom Atkins in Night of the Creeps.
That is a good death.
Yeah, yeah.
I would say. So for me, it's, even though I had forgotten about Mooney, that's
I
such a
think it's
great,
Mooney too.
such a great scene. I still had to, I couldn't, I had to go with Paul from the Blob.
Oh, really?
It's just
Oh,
it's always been not just like my favorite, not favorite scene, but like it's the scene in that movie. I love that movie, and it's the scene in that movie that's the most jarring because you expect him to be
yeah. He's the
hero.
main character at that point.
Yeah, and it's like boom, he's dead, and it's like holy shit, and there's no, you want him to escape the situation, and he's reaching for help as he's
And
dying.
it seems like he's going to
Yeah,
until she pulls his arm off.
it's a very like meaningful death too.
And it's sort of, it almost, it doesn't fuck the movie because the movie is awesome, but
Yeah.
it leaves you in this like weird state after where you're like, wait. So what are we doing here?
Right.
Like what's
Right.
it reminds me of, Ned Stark on Game of Thrones. Like,
Sure. Oh yeah,
you know?
totally, man. It's such a great, that's a great point. And it's like, it's ballsy for the times to take out the, preppy pretty boy character, hero character. It's just, there's a lot that goes into that choice. And not only that, but the effect is great. It executed great. But I could go either way if you're stuck on Mooney.
I'm not stuck on Mooney, but it's just a fucking nutty.
It's terrifying.
It really, what what's cool about it, that scene is it's like it's fun. Like the movie's fun,
Right.
like they're running around killing people.
But then it stops.
Then it like
happens.
stops dead and does this like, hey man,
Yeah.
like we're gonna kill everybody. Like it's fucking wild.
It definitely, it stops the fun, and it's
But
like, we're
but
here
they're
for
still
business.
being clowns.
Yeah.
Like they're still I mean, he's got him as a literal puppet.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I could go either one. Really, I mean, that's tough.
It is tough. You want to do this? Would probably be the only one. You want to do a tie on this one?
Yeah, fuck it.
Yeah,
We'll do a tie.
Right.
Yeah, or I could just go Paul. Whatever you want, because I don't,
Let's do a tie because
they're just two different.
they're two great scenes that you can't like. It's like for the category of best death, like those are two really standout scenes within those movies, within each movie.
Yeah,
so I'll do that. That's great. Next one, best creature.
This was tough too, man.
This was tough. So the list is the Waxwork werewolf. And for a second, I was going to be like the Waxwork zombies, but the zombies were fine. It was the scene that was great.
Yeah.
So I left those out. For me, the werewolf is always stuck in my brain. It's not the best. It's not great, but in that movie, every time I see it, I'm like, oh, this is the werewolf scene. The Blob, amazing effects.
Yeah, man. I mean,
go online on YouTube and
so
watch.
much with so little. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
just such a cool,
camera tricks. Like they went all out with directing this movie, and all the camera tricks, all the juices and weirdness that they used to make the Blob.
And very few of them are like, oh, that's obviously how, you know what I mean? Like the very few of them stick out. Like the effects hold up for the most part.
Absolutely. And it's not on the list, but the stuff from the stuff.
Yeah.
It's a lot of the exact same tricks.
Yeah, but I think it's better in the Blob.
It is better, which is weird because the stuff came first. It was like 2 years earlier. Yeah. And I would be willing to bet that they watched the stuff and was like, all right, let's do this better. And they did. But kudos to the stuff for doing that. The zombie slasher, the axe murderer from Night of the Creeps. This scene is my favorite scene in the movie. And the way it's shot, Fred Decker just like nailed it. The character itself is peppered throughout the entire movie in different forms, because at one point he's not dead, but when he comes back at this point, he's a zombie. It's a great zombie, the way they use it, but it is also like kind of like One Dark Night, where it's very minimal puppetry, but it's the scene that is so executed so well. The trolls, the little mini demons from the gate.
They were awesome.
Awesome. And even like
all the effects in the gate are great.
The zombie guy who breaks into a bunch of these things is really cool.
Yeah.
But the trolls are
the big demon at the end of the gate.
Yeah.
I mean,
But these trolls, it's very similar to the next one, which is the elf from Cat's Eye.
Yeah.
It's like, how do they do? I mean, they are clearly a real person, like jumping around, but how do they do what's around them? The way they're interacting with the movie, it's great. So yeah,
really,
the
really good like scale effects.
Yeah, scale effects are amazing. So yeah, the elf from Cat's Eye from the third part of the anthology, the clowns from Killer Clowns, and I'm so glad you threw in the Catter Puppy from House 2, which is near and dear to my heart.
I mean, it is cool looking.
It is. It's awesome.
It's a very good character or creature design.
Totally. What'd you pick?
I mean, I think I gotta go with the clowns. I mean, they're effective in like every way. Like they're so fucking creepy, but they're like funny looking at the same time. I don't know. That one's real hard. I mean, I could go with the Blob too, but I think the Killer Clowns, or even the cat. They're just so the Killer Clowns are like,
yeah.
They're awesome looking.
They are. I guess the reason that they don't stick out for me in the list is because that design since this movie has been used so much just in like graffiti and like just designs whenever you see clowns and stuff. So I guess part of my brain doesn't attribute it specifically to this movie. Whereas I guess initially I had picked the elf from Cat's Eye, but after hearing you talk about the little troll guys from The Gate, I was like, and then the blob, the blob is awesome, but it's also like so nebulous and like undefined, that it's not like, oh yeah, that creature design for this thing. It's just like material, basically. For me, it's a toss up between, I get what you're saying about the clowns. And if we were doing this, like when Killer Clowns came out, I'd be like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I don't know. I mean,
I could give it to the clowns. I guess the thing that would break that tie would be the fact that they had so many different variations of clowns in the movie, the short one, the big fat one, the middle ones, the giant one at the end.
Yeah. And what they did a lot of the time too is like because they only had so many, they would repaint or do whatever, to make it seem like they had more. And I think that they're my vote. But whatever you think. I mean,
the only other competition is, I love that elf in Cat's Eye. It's just so,
it's so cool, but it feels like a guy in a suit a lot of the time. I mean, I love the effects, and I love when he's walking on her and she's breathing and
I guess thinking about
the design of it is cool.
Thinking about it, it's more how it's interacting in the movie with the stuff around it. That's so overly cool, and
yeah.
So I could go clowns. I could do that.
All right, cool. Yeah.
Next one I got is worst movie. Or no,
yeah.
I'm sorry. We left out effects, just the best effects in a movie. Out of all, we don't really have like a list for that because it was a last minute addition. But out of all these movies, especially when you look at like the best movie nominees, I think it's worth just mentioning like the movies that we saw. The majority of these are from the 80s, and in the 80s, rotoscoping was huge, which is that sort of cartoony yet like electric sort of glowy effect. And every time I see that, I'm just like so mesmerized.
It's great
for some reason. And a lot of these movies use that. Waxworks uses it a lot.
Demon Knight uses it a lot.
Knight used it a lot. The eyeballs and like anything that's like, for instance, like Back to the Future with every time the car goes,
the tires and everything,
and all that shit. But yeah, like I don't know. I'm looking at like the list of some of these movies, and the one that stands out the most to me, I guess you could say Killer Clowns, but Fright Night, as far as like well-rounded effects, you've got Jerry's transformation, progressive transformation. Like there's the scene where he comes into the house and is like, his mom invites him into the house, and he ends up in his bedroom and he's half changed. And then at the end of the movie, he changes into the Bat, and then at the very end of the movie, he's another thing that explodes, like the demon bat thing.
Yeah.
And then you get like her transformation with all those teeth.
It's not. Yeah. I mean, the makeup's great. I just wonder, is that there's not a ton of it compared to some of the other ones.
True. What stands out for you?
The Gate. House 2 really does too, man. House 2.
Sure.
That Catter Puppy felt like it was alive. Like it didn't feel like a puppet. Sure.
Grandpa
Gramps. Yeah, Gramps was great. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I think
House 2 and
the Gate, I think is I guess I gotta give more credit to that movie. Like when you look at the individual scenes with,
I mean, it's stop motion that doesn't always feel like stop motion either.
Yeah, absolutely.
like, which is saying a lot.
Absolutely. I just kind of wanted to, it's one of those awards where like it was given away at home, like not televised. I kind of just wanted to like talk about it for a second because there was so many, this is my jam. The effects of this era of movies is what I grew up with and what I love to see even nowadays. Nowadays we get so much when you get
effect. It's CGI, which
it's
is
CGI, which
fine,
is,
but it's a different thing.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel the same.
It's different. Like if you look at American Werewolf in London, it's a different thing to give it to a guy that designed like a fucking werewolf. You know what I mean? Than to a guy who, I mean, I'm sure both are hard, but to design it on a computer isn't the same thing as making a physical thing.
It's a great example because the first movie is so astronomical in effects, and the second movie is such garbage.
Everything sucks.
In effects.
Everything sucks. Yeah.
When you would think the sequel would not be less than the first, but
yeah, I mean the creature design is the werewolves look like shit.
They look like apes. That's weird.
Yeah.
So all right, so that takes us to worst movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you got that list?
We got. I want to see if I knew you added that. Okay. What? We got American Werewolf in Paris.
Yeah.
We got Idle Hands.
Yes.
We got Queen of the Damned. People Under the Stairs. Urban Legend. One Dark Night. Zombie High. And Jason X.
And I think it was a late edition extra, just because I
but extra,
it's not my pick, and it's not.
It's got redeeming quality.
It does.
The makeup is cool. The effects are cool.
Right.
It's not as bad in hindsight.
To me, it's more. It just makes me feel dirty. Some of those scenes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not my pick. I felt like you forgot about Urban Legend throughout this whole thing. Like when we were going back and forth.
Yeah,
I was surprised.
Forgettable movie.
It is, but I'm surprised you didn't for Dickheads. You could have put any of those three dudes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as much as you hate Gerard Leto,
I forgot he was in that.
And even
my God.
And what's the guy with the podcast, The Flash, Lex Luthor?
Yeah, Michael Rosenbaum.
God, he's a dickhead in that movie, dude.
Yeah. I mean,
everyone. Everyone. Let me tell you some plot.
I mean, they waste Robert Englund. Yeah. They just, I mean, it's me, that movie's just forgettable. Whereas Queen of the Damned is awful on every level and not forgettable. And not in a good way. It's not like, hey man, there's movies that are that are bad that, like I said, I don't think I'll ever think about Urban Legend again. The other night I was on a drinking draw and I brought up Queen of the Damned got brought up and they hadn't heard of it. And I was like, wow, this fucking, and everybody's like, that sounds great. I'm like, no, it doesn't, man. Don't watch that.
You described it to them?
Yeah. And they were like, wait, what happened? And I was like, well, it's a sequel to Interview with the Vampire. And he forms a new metal band and all this. And they were just like, that sounds amazing. And I
guarantee you it was Blake and Wolfgang that thought that was amazing.
Eric did too. I'm like, that's the thing. If you like it, you might like it because you're kind of into weird stuff sometimes. But
so it takes everything. I guess
that's the thing. It's so up its own ass too.
Yeah, it really is.
It's taking itself so seriously, so precious,
and especially that stuff with Aaliyah at the end where she's doing that weird contorting. I feel like whoever's idea that was like, oh, this is going to be cool. Like this is going to come off as cool or unique or what? It's just,
I mean, if it were a better movie, it should have been nominated for craziest concept. Because think about that concept.
Yeah.
Okay, Tom Cruise's character from Interview with the Vampire wakes up, joined a new metal band.
Yeah.
And That sounds like fuck. That's nuts.
Is woken up by a new metal band.
But the movie. Well, he's not even woken up because it's loud. It's like it's his calling. He just it's so bad. But like that's the thing. Like, but it's not even any fun. They don't have any fun with that. They're taking it
totally.
They're taking it so seriously. It's the worst movie for sure.
It's the worst executed idea. I guess on paper, maybe like you just said, like the way those guys reacted was like, sure, maybe it could be cool, but it's so poorly executed. The effects are so bad. The acting is horrendous. It's wretched. Especially, I still can't remember the lead's name who plays Lestat, but
Stuart Townsend.
And I was trying to
almost Aragorn, man.
Oh my God. That's a good name for him. Almost Aragorn. That would have been so bad. Aaliyah, it's so bad. The rocket ship scene where she I'll never forget that, where she shoots up into the air with Lestat and escapes
after they fight a bunch of ninja vampires on
the
stage.
Ninja fight is like, it's one of those things where in a different movie where it's just as bad, you laugh about that scene and talk with your friends about, oh, watch this. But it's not that. It's a different kind of bad where it's like,
because
you
they're
don't
taking
want people to
seriously.
It's
not. No, I advise.
So
I'm like, don't watch it. It's not an enjoyable watch. It's fun to talk about how bad it is, but like, fuck that movie. That's the worst one.
That is the worst. That is the worst of the bunch. It definitely is. One Dark Knight, I understand why you don't like it. It's a pretty boring movie.
It was boring. Yeah, that was the biggest. And they didn't have any money.
There was the
problem.
But you could do entertaining things without money, and they didn't. And I think Adam West, that was
a big disappointment too.
His character in that role is in that movie is a giant metaphor for what that movie is. It's like, you got Adam West, do something with him. It doesn't cost you any money. He's actually in it doing nothing for a decent amount. And he could have said a cool line here or there or whatever. It's all he does is go to bed. That's all he does.
Yep.
Jason X, just dumb.
I mean, it is what it is. It's not,
whatever. It's bad, but it's
but you know what, that's the problem with that one. Knows what it is. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, hey, we know this is stupid, but it's at least a little fun.
Sure.
I
had fun with even Idle Hands. Like, it's not like it's a terrible movie.
It's not.
It's just like
the effects are cool.
It's like, fuck off, man.
I think you just don't like that era, the early 2000s.
I don't. It's that era.
I mean, really who does? It's the worst. Yeah, and you know what else is from that? The Queen of the Damned.
And Creed. Creed is from that era.
Yeah, they suck. They're awful.
People Under the Stairs. Just a really dry, bland Wes Craven movie.
Just kind of,
What are you doing, man? Like, what is this? It feels like
it felt like
made for TV movie.
A lot of ideas, it felt like too many ideas that didn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it needed focus.
Great poster.
Great poster, man.
And then Zombie High, whatever, man. That movie, so it's like there's some great stuff to talk about in that movie, but false advertising big time, dude.
Yep.
But yeah, all right. So that brings us to Queen of the Damned, worst movie we watched.
Yeah.
This season, by far, I think. Best movie, final category, best movie. Some good stuff.
Yeah.
There was some good stuff amongst all the bad stuff.
Yeah, I'm looking at you with some of the stuff you nominated.
So we got Transylvania 65000, The Blob.
We sure do.
Razorback, Night of the Creeps, The Lost Boys, Fright Night, and Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Don't go right to your winner. Tell me what you think.
I think you gotta. I mean, Razorback was fine, but it hasn't been nominated for anything else.
No, it's
throughout the whole.
I put Razorback in there because I loved the aesthetic, the look of it. I loved the creature wasn't in it so much, but when he was, it was very minimal, but it was cool. It was like minimal cool. The music, everything about it, but it wasn't like a phenomenal movie by any means. I'm surprised more people. I wish more people would see it because it's It's one of those movies where it's like it does your brain good.
Yeah, it's a good looking movie.
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad I saw it.
Yeah.
To me, yeah. I mean, I love The Blob. The Blob is it's in my top 10 of all time horror movies. I mean, I love it. To me, yeah. But I love Night of the Creeps. I had never seen Night of the Creeps.
That's cool. Yeah.
And that one was really, really good. So it's between those two for me.
Blob and Night of the Creeps. Okay.
Yeah. I know, but I know Fright Night and Lost Boys are like you're sold on those going in, you know.
Yeah, I was. And that's why I didn't pick Lost Boys. Because it's in my top 5 favorite movies of all time.
And you know what, I might, who knows, I mean, I like Lost Boys, but if I hadn't seen it, I had already seen it a lot by the so I didn't have the like exciting thing watching Night of the Creeps.
Sure. Killer Clowns, like I said, I appreciate that, or I appreciate that movie more as time goes by. There were just too many other better choices. So what'd you say? The Blob, Transylvania 65000. That's always in my heart. I love that movie. I had to put it in there, but I knew that wasn't going to be my pick. I understand The Blob. Man, that movie doesn't get enough credit. I think people, I don't know if it was because the original movie was made in the 50s. And so people think The Blob, silly. It's somebody set up a camera and filmed jelly.
A lot of people don't even know about it. Like when I talk about The Blob, people are like, with Steve McQueen. It's like, no, man, like,
Evan Dillon's son.
Yeah. Johnny Drama.
It's a great movie. Like, it is a great horror movie. The scares hold up, the effects hold up, the kills, everything about it. For me, it's between Night of the Creeps and Fright Night. I had picked Fright Night initially.
I liked Fright Night a lot. I liked Night of the Creeps a little better.
Okay. I mean, and maybe you're right. Maybe I'm a little biased with Fright Night, but Night of the Creeps, it's interesting because Night of the Creeps was something I didn't grow up with, like I did Fright Night or The Blob or whatever. I didn't come to Night of the Creeps until maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, and which was also when I got into Tom Atkins pretty seriously. Mm-hmm. So I could totally give it to that. I think that I love the reasons that you picked it, that it was like fresh and you had never seen it and stuff like that. I can always, because it's hard when you hear a lot about a movie and that you've never seen, to embrace it the way everybody else does. And
right.
So I could totally go with that. Night of the Creeps, best movie of season 1 of Death by Podcast. Yeah. Great movie, great cast, great everything, great effects, great premise. And I love that movie. And I've said this before, and it's something that, as good as this movie is, and I don't think enough people like it that should. And of the people that do like it a lot, I don't think they give it the credit of being a slasher, alien invasion, and zombie flick all wrapped into one. That's so awesome. It's so awesome.
Yeah. And you know what? There was one point where I forget what category it was, where I was thinking about it. I'm like, not that one. And then I remember the opening scene to this movie. And I was like, oh, fuck. I forgot.
Those aliens running around.
Yeah. The aliens running around. That's my favorite opening. I almost pissed my pants the first time I saw those aliens just running out the thing, like running around. They were great.
But then the ending as well, when like you're in a graveyard and this alien ship hovers over, looking for the slugs. It's like that. Just that image alone is like, and they give each of those 3 aspects, the slasher, zombies, and aliens, equal footing in this movie. Like they each get like this, like almost like a Richter scale, like
a spotlight. Like
it's like boom, boom, boom. And I especially love the slasher aspect of it, because they combine that with the zombie thing. It's so cool. Yeah,
it's awesome.
Definitely.
It's awesome.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right, man. What a good list. I feel like we should do something else with this list. I'll definitely, publish it, put it on wherever. Maybe we'll do something. I don't know. Try to figure something out with it to put on Patreon. So good, man. Some good movies. I'm glad we watched all these. Really, I think
season 2 is going to be.
It's going to be really interesting, man. Because we kind of
some good ones.
We kind of pulled out like our favorites, I think, in this first season. So we're gonna have to like really dig. Not that there isn't a plethora of endless 80s B horror movies, but it's gonna be interesting, the picks.
I'm excited.
Cool, man. All right. So that wraps up the awards of the Death by Podcast 2021 season 1 awards. I think we were gonna finish up with a few announcements and a question that we had. First off, so we had our giveaway for the Demon Knight Blu-ray when we reach when we reach 10 reviews on iTunes. We were going to do a raffle and give away a brand new copy of Demon Knight. This is the end of season 1. We only have 9 reviews. So instead of just throwing in the towel and being like, 9's good enough. It's not good enough, Kevin. We're going to wait until we get 10. And so, you know what? I'm going to change it since we didn't make it. I'm going to make it 11.
Oh,
We have to get 11 reviews. So when we hit 11, we will do the giveaway, and it's going to be bigger than just Demon Knight.
yep.
So that'll be fun.
You get the listener letter or the email.
Yeah, we got our friend of the show, Edward Draws Stuff, over on Instagram, Edward Frena. He had a question for us.
Who I was a fan of, by the way. Like, I went to follow him, and I was already following him. It's amazing artist, really, really great,
Really amazing stuff.
I was already following him, just based on his art.
Definitely. It's very like horror, sci-fi based art.
Really cool.
Dude does some great stuff. So he says, this is from Edward. He says, blah, 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 blah. Now he says, I know a lot of old school horror from the 80s and 90s, but that zombie high flew right over my radar. Good stuff to know. Good unknown stuff to know, good or bad.
You tuck that right back into your radar.
Yeah. Right. So he says, I do have a question. Any plans to cover any trauma films, and do they count as horror? And then, and then part 2 of that is when we get to the letter P, any chance we will do an episode on it's a newer movie called Psycho Gorman. Have you heard of this?
I've seen it.
Oh, you have? I haven't seen it. It's in my list. So I will watch that. And
I think you'll love it.
Really? Okay.
Personally,
We'll tag it on. Joe says Joe watched it, I think, and he didn't like it. So it looks crazy and bonkers. I want to see it.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah.
I think it's up your alley.
Okay. I'll watch it, and we'll fit it in as one of our like sort of newer movies that we tag.
I mean, we could cover it in what you watch, you know?
Yeah, we'll definitely cover
not
it.
available on VHS. Those are the new rules.
Those are the new rules.
I'll talk about it next week.
So the question about trauma, any plans to cover any, and do they count as horror? I think it just depends on which one you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, you almost picked Toxic Avenger,
right? Yeah,
and then picked what'd you pick for T? You picked something else.
I forget what T was. T was
Transylvania 65000. Yeah, I would have preferred a trauma.
That's right.
Movie.
I remember bringing that up to you. I was like, all right,
any trauma movie.
It's a tight race here between Toxic Avenger and, like, have you seen Mother's Day?
No,
dude, Mother's Day is intense, and it's another one of those movies like Toxic Avenger. I guess Trauma definitely. I think any one of Trauma's movies would qualify into our horror scheme.
Yeah, because it doesn't have to be. You know, Elvira's not a horror movie. Sure. You know.
But it deals with horror concept, like traditional horror elements and stuff. Same thing with Trauma, but Trauma is more like, I don't know what they would categorize trauma movies as. Like Toxic Avenger, it's got absolutely horror elements, but it's also like,
I mean, that's what's so great about Trauma is that they're completely their own thing. And like, I mean, I have the Trauma Now app on my phone. You know, I think it's $5 a month. And even, you know what? I mean, I would give those guys $5 a month just to keep making movies. Like, even if they didn't give me access to the library, like there's no other place to see shit like that. Yeah. You know, nobody's making, you know, those movies, you know?
Yeah. Kaufman is a very special and great and nice and cool and weird dude.
They've got a new one out too.
Do they?
Yeah. It's called Shakespeare Shitstorm. And they've been talking about it a while. One of my favorite comedians is he works on the movies, and he's in a bunch of them. I think he directed a couple. Okay. His name is Zach Amico. He's got a horror podcast that's really good. Yeah. He basically does a commentary track. He grabs another comedian and they watch a movie. And
so they're crimping our style. Is that what they're doing?
Sort of. I mean, but they literally like play the movie.
Oh, okay.
And they sit and they're like, oh, that guy did that. Like they did, you know, I don't know who's got E. You know, it'd be a good one next. Ernest Scared Stupid.
Dude, there's so is there a creature in there called like the Booger Man or something?
Yeah, I think so.
Booger lips.
I've
Booger
seen it a
lips.
few times.
I haven't seen it, I don't think.
It's one of my wife's favorite movies. She loves
Of course
that movie.
it is. Of course it is. That and her Hallmark movies. They go hand in hand.
They go. She's all over.
Nah, we could definitely put that in the list. As far as Trauma, yeah, I mean, we'll definitely. Those are all fair game, I think.
Yeah, I love Trauma.
Can you name off the top of your head one of the Trauma movies that James Gunn worked on?
Yeah, he did Romeo and Juliet.
Okay, he directed that.
He directed that one. Yeah.
Okay.
There's another one that I'm fucking kicking myself that I can't remember because I know it. Yeah, but that's, and a lot of people would argue that Romeo and Juliet is their best movie.
Really?
But yeah.
As far as their catalog goes, I think it would be hard to top Toxic Avenger. I mean, it's just so.
I love Toxic Avenger. There's
you gotta watch Mother's Day. It's fucking fucked up.
There's Sergeant Kabuki Man, NYPD. I mean,
that's awesome.
Again, man, they're awesome.
Yeah, so fair game. Speaking of movies we're covering, so next week starts season 2 of Death by Podcast. I have the first letter A, and it's a toss-up. 2 movies that I haven't seen either of. One that I think we've talked about or something, I don't know, but it's between 1982's Alone in the Dark and 1980's Altered States. Have you seen
I've never seen either one. I've heard really cool things about Altered States. I've heard it's good.
I have too. It's got Thunderbolt Ross. What's his name? General Ross. William Hurt.
I love William Hurt, man.
The other one, Alone in the Dark, the cast: Donald Pleasance, Jack Palance, Martin Landau. So, Lin Shaye. You know Lin Shaye?
Wait, no, I don't know. No, I don't know.
Lin Shaye is the sort of medium in all of the James Wan movies. She's the older woman.
Oh, okay.
I really
sound like you're reading 12 Angry Men for a minute.
Oh, really? It's got some other people that you recognize. I've never seen it. I don't know. It's 1980, so it's or 82, so it's all of them early. In their early, not early, but it could be weird.
They're all still old, and if it's
they are
those
totally. They are, but also like for all of them in a horror movie. I don't know. Yeah, let's do Altered States then.
All right, that's one I've always wanted to check out, and I just haven't.
Cool, and I've seen a lot about it recently, just clips and images and stuff that I'm like, what the fuck is that? Next week, season 2, episode 1 will be Altered States for the letter A. What else? Oh, and on Patreon for our BoobTube TV, our bonus mini podcast, we're watching
Extreme Ghostbusters,
season 1, episode 2, because we did season 1, episode 1 today. We recorded that. So next week we'll do 2.
Cliffhanger.
It was a cliffhanger. What happens with Egon and the new extreme Ghostbusters?
Burger King's Kids Club
with shoulder pads.
Captain Planet and Planeteers.
What else you got? Anything?
No, man. I got
all right, my friend. I appreciate that you brought this idea to us, and I love doing this with you. We lasted past 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Which is the industry standard from what I understand.
It is. Yeah, man. This has been great. I'm excited for season 2.
Cool. Bigger and better. A lot more dickheads, hopefully. So with that, if you want to find us on social media, you can find us on Twitter at DBP Podcast, I think. Our social media hub, Instagram at Death by Podcast, where we post all the updates on all the stuff we're doing. And as we said, for this new season, we're going to be taking listener questions. So we will take a couple from Patreon and we'll take a couple from Instagram to start off. So just post them in the comments of any post that you'd like.
Or Twitter, wherever.
You could do Twitter too. Sure, we'll do Twitter too. But we look at Instagram more, so whatever. But whatever works, we'll find them. If you want to support the podcast, join us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/deathbypodcast, where we have our bonus mini podcast, BoobTube TV, where we cover a vintage horror related, usually pretty fun TV show episode. And like I said, we're doing Extreme Ghostbusters this week and next, and then we'll switch it up to something else. I think that's it. I think that's officially it. Thank you all for listening. This whole 33 episode thing that we did, and for supporting and for interacting and just be in there. It's really cool. It's a really awesome, fun thing that we're doing here. So I am your host, Adam. That's your other host,
Evan.
It's Miller time. That was the best one yet. That was perfect.
The best.
All right, folks. Thank you. Good night.